Hey guys, Kimberly here, back with the third part of my Teach English Abroad series. For today, I just want to talk a bit about my experience with the program. I already mentioned it before in my last video, but I went with English Open Doors in Chile, South America, and I mentioned how, excuse me, the wind's blowing my papers away. I mentioned how we didn't know, as volunteers, you don't really know like the details or the specifics about where you're teaching. You know the start date, you know the end date, and that's really about it. Like you don't find out until 2 weeks before what region you're going to be in. And if you guys know Santiago, it is a long country, and their weather ranges so much from the north to the south. So it's very important to know what region you're going to be in so you can pack accordingly. So they let you know that at least 2 weeks in advance. And you can kind of put in some preferences. Like you can say you want urban or rural or mid-size. You could say you want north, central, south, and I think those were it. Like you could kind of rate them in the order that you wanted, and the volunteers or the people that worked for the NVC program, the National Volunteer Program, they were the ones that kind of organized everything. They found the host families. If you were doing the host family route, you didn't have to do the host family if you didn't want to. I'll get into that later, but they organized everything. And so a lot of it is very last minute. They're trying to make sure that the schools are acceptable and have met all of the requirements. They're trying to make sure all the host families are acceptable and have met all the requirements, because they don't want to put people in a home and then the family didn't meet all of those requirements, or maybe they didn't treat the previous volunteers well, or who knows what. So they're always going through and vetting and just making sure that everything is up to par and where it needs to be. So it takes time. So you have to definitely be very flexible and kind of patient. I didn't find out yet until I was in Santiago, the city I was going to be in, the school I was going to teach at, and the host family that I was going to stay with. I didn't know any of that. So it was, I guess you could say it's kind of nerve-wracking, but honestly it wasn't too bad. I mean, I was enjoying being in Santiago. I got there a little bit earlier. I visited the city a little bit. I actually have a cousin that lives there, so I visited her. And then, I did the orientation. The orientation was very well done, I think. They have... it's kind of like 4.5 days worth. You get there, I think Monday's the first day. It kind of goes over the program itself, how everything's done. It's very interactive too. Like they start going over lesson plans and how, just kind of the structure of how to do it. Because you don't need to be, as far as this program goes, you didn't need to be certified or anything. Like they show you everything. So they show the structure of how everything works. And actually with this program, like you aren't just like on your own teaching the students, you're assisting the English teacher at that school. And that English teacher is most likely Chilean. And so they were just bringing in a native speaker. So our main focus was actually speaking and listening, so that the students can actually get to hear like a native speaker, a native English speaker, what that's like. Because like when you hear, the Chilean teacher speak English, of course they're going to have an accent, So that was kind of like our focus. So they tell you how to come up with lesson plans. They had examples. We actually practiced them. We, in front of like the group, we sat in on it, on an example one. It's very interactive, very, very well done, I think. And then the last day, they kind of had like a little farewell thing. And then that last weekend, you can kind of hang out in Santiago, but then they start shipping you off, either bus or plane, depending on what region you are. Because like I said, it's a long country. And so, like I said, my experience, I actually was in, not far from Santiago. It was like a 2-hour bus ride from Santiago north, in the Valparaiso region. If you guys are familiar with Chile, the Valparaiso region is just north of Santiago. And I was in a little town called La Ligua, but I taught in an even smaller town called Cabildo, which was 20 minutes away. And I actually stayed with the principal, or the director as they would call him down there, and his wife, who was also a history teacher at the high school, and they had 2 kids. And so, I stayed with them, and it was like, honestly, such an amazing experience. I think I just hit it off with the family. I know like everyone's experience is different. Like sometimes you don't click, or maybe there's some drama, or I know some people had to get like replaced again because something happened, or different things. So not to scare you or anything. I think for the most part it's all good things, but I guess there is that little chance that maybe something doesn't work out the way you think it should. But I think the key to that is not to have any like crazy expectations going into it, so that way you're not like disappointed or let down when it doesn't meet those expectations. So anyways, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to let you know about my experience with this program. I would say that it was amazing. I only did 1 semester. I did their fall semester, which is our spring semester up here in the States. because they're, below the equator, so it's the opposite down there. They're winter, our summer. And so I was there for just one semester. I almost wish I would have done 2 semesters, but at the same time, I feel like one was good. Like, by the time I was done, I was like, oh my gosh, no more lesson planning. I'm going to talk more about this in the next one. But yeah, and I did want to mention, like, I stayed with host family, but if you're interested in doing this program and you don't want to stay with a host family, you don't have to. You can actually find your own lodging if you want, and that's definitely something that a lot of people did. The only thing is that ends up being more expensive, and you have to cover those additional costs, because they will give you a little bit of a stipend to cover lodging, but it's not really enough. I don't think. It depends on if you have a roommate or whatever you end up doing. But if you're living by yourself, it's not going to cover it. And then if you want to travel on the weekends and stuff. So anyways, that is it for this part of the series on teaching English abroad, and I will be back with the next series soon. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.